Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you all for coming. This will be a fun show, 50 nuggets, and we're going to analyze how data always identifies the truth of where things are going. And this channel is all about data. This is the New Year's Eve special. We're going to talk about kind of what won and what lost in 2024, what's going to happen in 2025. Could it be as big as people expect? And we'll look at some price targets and data and yada yada. Thank you, TND Tesla, Sean Donnelly. I can't believe you guys are here. It's late your time in Europe. K8, Red Panda Pie, Chaotic Coder. We have Alex Rogan, Martello 45, Vitruvian Music, Samurai Core, Chaotic Coder again, Vagabond, Moto 89. I appreciate every single one of you so much. The cryptocurrency in 2024 made a vicious comeback, which was awesome. We saw things happen we didn't expect. We saw other things happen we kind of expected, but didn't expect to be as good. And we saw as well a lot of the impact of things like AI and global industries and yada yada. The crypto market cap, believe it or not, right now is actually 1/3 of $10 trillion, 3.33 trillion. And it's weak. It's always weak around Christmas and New Year's time. There's tax selling and all sorts of stuff that happens. And Bitcoin's still strong. We'll see who the winners are of this year. Fear and Greed is at 64. And let's get into the story. 50 nuggets. I won't take much of your time because I know you got parties to get to, or maybe you're even at parties. Who knows? But again, Hodler and everybody else, let's go. Disclaimer, not financial advice, just a guy on the internet. Clicker's working. Good. And shout out to Patreon to make this possible every single day. From Hannah, a new powerful lady in the community, finally subbed to your Patreon after following you since 2020. And I'm a girl. Woohoo! Well, you've had a fun ride if you've been following me since 2020. And again, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for making all of this possible. I'm so grateful to be able to do this every day. It's fun. And for all those people around the world, we have Mogadishu and Moscow are already in 2025, and this is where we are right now. The team in Europe are about to flip and slide into 2025, and the rest of the world has a long ways to go. But shout out to all the Australians, the Kiwis, people across Asia and India. Very big growing following out of India, actually, for this channel. Even Eastern Europe. Shout out to everybody in Belarus and Lithuania and all these cool places. And again, health is everything. Let's get into the good news. Lots of good news. First of all, Fear and Greed is still strong. We are up at, let me read this, 64, I think. Hey, a bottle of red. 64. And that is holding constant. I know things aren't as hot as people would have expected, but that's okay. Happy feet in Canada. Thank you for always being here since the very beginning. Let's look at what happened over the last year for the big names. This is the last 365 days. You can see very clearly you see all these weird meme coins. Who could have pegged that? Maybe Mando did. Doge, Pepe, Whiff, whatever, some of these names. I don't even know what they are. All did really well. Other names too, like layer ones like Sui, up 442% for the year. Bonk, another meme coin, 131%. Other names like Ondo that came on the scene. XRP up 240%. XLM 160%. Aave, 177%. Blast from the past. I used to own Aave back in 2020, 2021. And here we are. What else? Everything else did pretty good. Radium up nearly 300%. One of the most powerful dexes out there in the world. So it's been a good year. Other names are there. I just can't see. Bitcoin up 122%. Uniswap 62%. Solana up around 90%. Yeah, it's been pretty darn good. Let's look at what things look like in melting fiat terms. This is just over the past, this is actually the month of December, not the past week, the month of December. Bitcoin up 3.15%, ETH down 8.3%, Sol down about 10%, Cardano up, etc. It's just mixed. December sucks, but let's zoom out and think about the big year we've just had. This is Bitcoin compared to everyone else. Well, the big indices, let's call it. You got Bitcoin 124% up, 124.8% in 2024. Not bad. NASDAQ 30.1%, driven heavily by the AI stocks. Gold had its best year in about 12 years, up 26.8%. It beat the S&P 500, up 24.2%, and Dow 13%. Dow is full of old garbage, so never touch the Dow stuff. Russell 2000s, people talked about small caps are going to make it big. Big rise. But no, the winners take most in this space. The big guys, the big AI plays. We'll get to that in a minute too. Let's talk about 2025 Bitcoin targets. Where could this thing go? We had a great 2023. We had a brilliant 2024, especially September, October, November. They were freaking mind-blowing, way beyond my expectations. And we hit 108,000. But what can we do in 2025? And these are some, people that kind of know what's up in the place, in the space, etc. People like Tom Lee from Fundstrat. He's been analyzing Bitcoin for 10 years. I think they're one of the first funds to actually bang their fist on the table about this. But Tom Lee, he predicts Bitcoin will hit $250,000 in 2025. I like the ring to that, 250 in 2025, 250 in 25. I'll take that Tom Lee any time of the day. Fellow Wharton guy. Tim Draper, 250 by 2025. But Tim Draper, in fairness, has been saying 250 for quite a while. Standard Chartered, 200,000 for 2025. Chamath, 500 by October 2025. Very specific. And he rused the day where they had like 100,000 Bitcoin. They sold it, him and his fund, because his partners felt they could make more money in other things. So it was sad to see that video. Galaxy, 185,000 by Q4 2025. Bitwise, 200,000 by 2025. Investing Haven, 175 to 185,000 by 2025. Again, you add all these up, you're looking at a 200K target. And I would love for these people to be even 60% correct. That would take us to 120, 130 plus. But there's crazy stuff happening behind the scenes, and much of the gains that are going to come, we'll talk about this in a second too, we have, and these folks look at this too as well, but we have institutions stacking Bitcoin. We have one firm that bought the next 1.6 years of Bitcoin issuance. One firm. And he bought that in literally a couple of months. Bonkers. Then, so there's not enough to go around, 60 firms, 70 firms, when one can buy nearly 2 years supply in a couple of months. Okay, just let that settle in. We'll look at some on-chain data as well in a minute, look at the long-term holders, what they're doing. But there's three things. And I've been talking about treasuries for months now. Treasuries are coming. They are snacking on this stuff. They're getting rid of their melting fiat ice cubes quick, and they're turning it into Bitcoin. And they're all following the MicroStrategy playbook. Then you have nation state adoption. That's happening. We just don't know who they are. It's happening. Okay? And then we have things like pensions, and we have TradFi, institutions all getting in on the play. This is what could make 2025 good. And 2025 is normally when we go into the parabolic zone. We've done really well up from 15.5 to 100K ballpark. But the crazy stuff has yet to happen if history repeats. Remember, Bitcoin's harder than ever before. Trying to buy a big bag now is impossible. Impossible. I can't remember where the very first buy that Michael Saylor did, but they spent $250 million and they got like 25,000 or 250,000. I can't remember. No, 25,000 Bitcoin for that price for $250 million. Those days are gone, long gone. Anyway, let's get into Bitcoin and some on-chain data that's important for us to look at. You can see here the speedometers from Swissblock. I like this. And you can see the most significant development for Bitcoin has been on the fundamental side. And this year marked the beginning of institutional adoption, treasury adoption, sovereign adoption. And this is what's really profound about what happened is just a year ago, many big players in TradFi were calling it a Ponzi scheme, magic internet money, and other derogatory terms. Now, it's a real asset class that people are jumping to get into, okay? And all of these are they've flipped more neutral from bullish a week or so ago, but that's okay. It's Christmas time. Let's look at some on-chain indicators. One I want to point out is miner reserves. Miner reserves are literally almost depleted. Most of the miners that need to pay the bills are selling their Bitcoin immediately. You have one miner called Marathon has bought up all of the miners' sales this year across Iris Energy and Wolf and a couple of others. One player has issued $2 billion to buy up all their bags. So the supply, this is the green line, is the miner reserves, and you can see how it's tanked. this whole year from the beginning of this year all the way down, and the Bitcoin price has gone up. Maybe a loose correlation there, but the supply is depleted. There's about 200,000 Bitcoin left on OTC desks. If a big player, a big sovereign comes in and decides to buy, boom, we'll get to 200K real fast. Again, if that happens. Not saying we're going to 200K, but if a big player comes in, we definitely are. Pretty easy. Where are they going to get their stuff? Now, the most important thing as well, not just miners, that's where the supply comes from. You also have to look at on-chain users. There is kind of pretty good adoption so far for the year. It's gone up a lot. And what's important about this green line here is the number of on-chain users. It's staying steady and has been steady since November, which is at the all-time high, which is good for adoption. People have not lost interest. If anything, it's staying persistent, which is a very positive sign for the network. Now, the other thing that's most important is, where do the bags come from? The answer is the long-term holders. This is one I watch very, very carefully. All these charts, by the way, are in the Tabby model. There's about 21 different indicators you can check yourself, monitor in real time. Green line is the long-term holder bags. Now, what's important to know is they have gone so far this year from 71% of holdings of Bitcoin down to 61%. They have sold a truckload, particularly when we got close to 100K. Many sold at 90K, many sold at 100K. But all of what they sold was absorbed by two players, MicroStrategy and IBIT. Just two players. All of what they sold. Make that very clear. Now, how low? So long-term holders that are in the game for a long time, they sell a portion. They never sell all their bags. I must reiterate that. They don't just get rid of everything and then buy it all back. No, they take 10, 15%, sometimes 20% of their bag and they sell it, which is a prudent thing. DBF 430 in Australia. Happy 2025. You're already there. But let's look at how low it typically can go. Okay, we've gone from, 71% to 61% so far in the sales this year. But the floor is max down to 54%. Max, that's the green line there. That is the max they will ever sell. 54% will be retained by long-term holders. That means they're at 61 now. So it's like 6-7% left to go. The majority of the long-term holder selling has happened. 2025 could be the entry of the big players that will try gobble this stuff up. But the long-term holders will see that happening, and they are done selling their quota. Okay? Very important. I could be wrong. I'm just looking at history and data and charts, but they normally tell the truth. Okay? Remember, the truth lies in data, not in the media. We'll get to that too in a minute. Now, let's talk about other standouts of 2024. Despite the pullback in MicroStrategy, and I know people are feeling the pain, but remember, this MicroStrategy stock is up 2,425% today since they started buying Bitcoin. All right. 2023, it went up over 300%. 2024, up another 300%. You take 300% on top of 300%, that's basically a 2,000% return. Okay. In a very short window of time. Okay. People, again, nothing goes straight up in these markets. But it's up an awful lot, and it smoked Nvidia, which has been the best performing stock over the same period as well. And it's not even an AI play. That's why the two narratives I'm in, AI, crypto, that's it. Play each side carefully, because they will both disrupt the future, and that's where all the money will be. Now, in other news too, this was also the year of the Bitcoin ETFs. The total assets under management now for just 7 firms, 7 Bitcoin ETFs, has a staggering total of $114 billion. The Bitcoin spot ETF is the most significant development for Bitcoin this year, probably crypto as well. And the ETFs enabled a wide swath of retail, institutional investors, pension funds to gain exposure to Bitcoin. And it is ushering a huge tailwind to the crypto industry. Those that knock the ETFs and say it's a nothing burger, they don't know what they're talking about. That's a massive amount of money. That's money that retail could never come up with alone. And the look at the people that are buying this is basically auto allocations recommended by firms like BlackRock, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% of money that comes in every single week, like clockwork. Now, another crazy news too. And this is more of a forecast for 2025. And I don't know if it's going to happen. There's a 30-40% chance it could happen. But as we approach the end of 2024, it's fair to say everything changed in 2024. Everything changed. The world went a bit wonky, a bit crazy over the last 4 years. And then it's doing a little bit of a reset. And in the middle of that reset is a thing called Bitcoin. Okay? And what is crazy here, the incoming president campaign confirmed this, that they do want to set up a Bitcoin reserve that could be Bretton Woods 3. Bretton Woods 1 was gold-backed fiat. Bretton Woods 2 was just fiat, printing money through government bonds. And Bretton Woods 3 is building a harder dollar backed by things like, some gold, some oil, and Bitcoin. Again, there's not enough Bitcoin to back the US dollar because there's so much debt. But if this administration pulls off what they plan to do, and they are surrounded by pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto people, that could be absolutely massive. And it's not just for a flash in the pan for the next 6 months or 12 months. They're going to be in power for 4 years. Think about what can happen, but all the stuff that's key is what happens in the first 2 years. The last 2 years of their presidency is kind of nothing really happens. Thank you, Boomerhand_Saul. Appreciate you. So could we get Bretton Woods 3 with Bitty? Yes, it rhymes. Bitty is my nickname for Bitcoin. And wow, if that happens, forget $200,000 Bitcoin. Forget it. We're going way higher. Again, 40%, 30% chance happening. But even if you do an EV on that, say 30% chance of us going to, 200 grand, it's still bonkers. Very bonkers. Now, what also happened, this is the year that the foundation was built, okay, for TradFi Bitcoin float financing. NYDIG is now exploring float financing for Bitcoin-backed lending, which is a huge development. How do the rich get rich? They borrow against their bags. Therefore, they don't ever sell their bags. Therefore, they don't ever incur the nasty taxes that rip off a lot of their bags. But they borrow against their bags and they write off the interest borrowing against their bags and they live off that. QED. Now we have the infrastructure being built out so people can borrow against their Bitcoin. This will bring enhanced liquidity for Bitcoin holders. It means they won't have to sell. Okay, long-term holders won't have to sell. They can just borrow against their bags. They would use Bitcoin as collateral for loans without selling the asset. And this provides Bitcoin holders with liquidity options. And they're still on the train. And because they won't be selling, there'll be no drawdown in price. And that means they can keep higher loan-to-value ratios. It's nothing but freaking goodness, ladies and gentlemen. VegTrader, Meatball, and Slipping Stones. I hope I read that right. Thank you. But this is huge, okay? Integrating this into the markets will pave the way for much more institutional involvement in the space as well. And you get Bitcoin-backed loans with TradFi mechanisms. Float financing from insurance represents a step towards bridging TradFi with decentralized finance, potentially transforming the lending market completely. And there's already clever people, finance people, structures in place where you can buy a house without ever selling your Bitcoin. Then you can pay off your house without ever properly selling your Bitcoin. It's madness, especially when you see, like a few years ago, a house cost 60 Bitcoin. Now it's 4.6. Think about that. That's called deflation or inflation, depending on which asset you hold. Don't hold the melting ice cube one. In other good news too, Bitcoin won the year. This is AltSeason aggregated over the last 12 months. And you can see the score is 33, which means Bitcoin beat 67% of the top 50 assets. And it looks something like this. By the way, I've added little green arrows to things that I own in full disclosure. And you can see here the big ones that did kind of well this year. Again, memes, Pepe, BGBG, Sui is number 3. Sui layer 1. Yeah, that did well. Remember, Sol had a rampage of a year in 2023. It went completely crazy. And now that everything goes straight up, so it's still only up 105.9% for the year, which is bloody good in old TradFi terms. Bitcoin, 136.2%. Again, this is how AltSeason index measures it. And down to the right, you've got the Celestias, the Poles, the Arbitrums, the Optimisms. Injective is in there. Cosmos, IMX, Filecoin, ICP, Polkadot, Aptos, Avalanche, Kaspa, Stacks, all the stuff that we knew weren't going to make it with the exception of Injective, but Injective was dominated by Sol aggregators, etc. Anyhow, the point is the data, the answer is in the data. And we'll talk more about layer 2s and ETH as well in a little minute too. But either way, spectacular year. 2023 was also completely bonkers where some of these things ran faster. Now, meme coins, they won the year. They completely smoked it. On average, the average meme coin, whether it's a top 30 meme or whatever, they completely won everything. You can see the returns. No matter what meme you're owning, it's very hard to actually lose. But on average, most of them are up somewhere near 100 to 200% per year, which is crazy. But remember as well, meme coins are only a tiny sliver of the crypto market cap. Okay, it's only 2.4% meme coins, 97.6 non-meme coins. So don't get too excited there about them taking over. No, it's just people speculating because they don't want to spend 100 grand on Bitcoin. Instead, they'd rather spend 0.0003 cents on some token that has 100 billion of them or whatever. The other big winner of the year is the Year of Solana. Solana does 68% of all transactions across 40,000 cryptos on the planet, and that's it. Solana is doing nearly 5 billion transactions in Q4. Next, number 2 is Sui, 764 million. And next, number 3 is Near, 674 million. Let's go back a second and look at data. Look at the correlation between transactions and users. And look at the performance here. Sui up 475%. Again, because they have the number 2 level of adoptions. Where's Near Protocol, which is number 3? Where's Near? Somebody help me with my eyes here. Near should be on this chart. Where is it? There it is. Near is up 48% for the year. And that was number 3. So again, there is a very kind of pretty solid correlation between the amount of transactions a chain does and the actual value of the chain and the overall performance. Base is the one that dominates all of the layer 2s on ETH, and that's not even a chain you can buy. Let's look at narratives. Real world asset wins the year, up 1,800%. That's tokenization of everything, which is coming, ladies and gentlemen. Everything will be tokenized in the future. Assets, land, stocks, you name it, oil, whatever. Centralized exchanges number 2, up 881%. That includes the Binance token, the CRO token, those types of things. They did really well as well. And then if you look at Bitcoin, up 112% per this model. Ethereum up 42%. So basically, Bitcoin smoked ETH by a factor of 3x. Now, what we also had as well, we saw crazy adoption, crazy number of transactions and users. And again, one of my favorite metrics is the fully diluted market cap divided by the number of daily transactions. The most expensive chain valuation by far is Cardano, $664,000 per transaction. Number 2 is Stacks. Number 3 is Ethereum. They're all expensive. They're all very overvalued. Even if you add in all the layer 2s, it's still overvalued. Now, you compare that to things like Solana, $1,900 per transaction. Tron, $3,000 per transaction. Flow, $5,300 per transaction. Again, you get the idea. You got to have, in order to be at least have somewhat type of upside, the chain should not be trading at more than $5,000 market cap per transaction. Okay, if you are, chances are you're very overvalued as well. And Solana DEX volume, again, winner of the year, breaks $100 billion 2 months in a row. Again, smokes Ethereum, etc. It is bonkers. November was incredible, and December is incredible too. So it's driven by all the transactions, all the adoptions, all the users are going into the black hole, as I've been calling it now for 2 years. Now, I was mocked and ridiculed all year. Because if you look at here, this is a name called Kaspa. This is one of the losers. Is down 4% for the year. The Kaspa army attacked me everywhere in the YouTube comments, on Twitter, etc. Blocked them all. There's probably a few left. But again, they were telling me this is the Bitcoin killer, the Solana killer, etc. Yeah, the data didn't say that, okay? But you know, when something is pumped hard, it's a scam, all right? Nobody from Ethereum has ever attacked me. A couple of people from Cardano, but not many. They're kind of respectful too. But when you see the aggression and the toxicity coming from a group like this, you know it's a scam. Okay? So that was my learning back in 2020, 2021, and it still works very effectively today. And remember, if it's pumped hard, it's probably a scam. Beware of things that are pumped hard. Clint, the Thirsty Punch, thank you for coming. Now, degens be degens. This is also a crazy thing that happened in 2024, and it's going to be huge in 2025. Poly market comes to the fore. Everybody is betting on everything. And sports predictions have over $1 billion were wagered on sports in 2024, and a lot more will happen in 2025. But people are just spinning up whatever they want to bet on. It's incredible. And this is the merging of kind of traditional world and gaming with crypto, and it's very powerful, especially things like the elections. That was on point, super accurate and precise. Nobody believed it, but it worked. Again, when people put real money down, normally they know what they're talking about. Now let's talk about stocks in 2024. A very green year for many names. You can see Tesla had a great year, up 64%. But remember, off the bottom in the summer of 2024, it came up an awful lot more. So it ended the year 2023 pretty high, but still up another 63%. NVIDIA up a whopping 171.82%. Apple, 29.9%. Their stock buybacks are working really well. Google, 35%. Meta, 66%. Amazon, 45%. And Microsoft, 12%. So Microsoft, the owners of ChatGPT, didn't pull it out of the hat like you would expect. Now, a little bit of calendaring, so we know what's coming in 2025 too, because this is kind of like a summary of 2024, so we can tell what's going to happen next. We have a massive January 17th historic open interest expiration options. I'm in a ton of options. I closed out over 1,000 contracts today. And there's a lot more for 2025. This January 17th is going to be crazy. That will drive a lot of volatility. So circa 17 days from now, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared for volatility. Have some powder in the gun to be able to snag a deal. And then on the 20th is the inauguration. And then, of course, Fed meeting, who cares, on the 29th. And FTX is going to repay $16.5 billion to customers on January 31st. January will be volatile like hell, but it should end strong into Feb. Watch this space. And what else happened in 2025? Well, it's a year where MicroStrategy purchased 257,259 Bitcoin. They started the year with about 200,000, okay? Or 190,000, I should say, just less. And they added over 250,000 Bitcoin. They bought 17 times. The largest was 55,500 on the nose. The smallest was 164 Bitcoin. The total Bitcoin they purchased, again, 257,000. This is crazy. This is nearly 600 days of miner issuance. 1.6 years gobbled up by one player. Yes, MicroStrategy is volatile. Yes, it's come from nothing. Yes, if you bought in 2020, 2021, you're very happy. Yes, it's come down off the highs. Yes, we had a gamma squeeze. Yes, people are nervous. Yes, is he moving too fast? Perhaps. But boy, he knows this is all about the game theory. He who moves first wins. Okay, he gets that. Okay, there might be some short-term headaches and dips in the market and stuff. But if Bitcoin goes to 200 grand, can you imagine the gamma squeeze in this puppy? We'll see. Either way, 2025 will be very volatile and very interesting, and I'll be here for it. Also, the 60 public Bitcoin treasuries have now become 70 in just 2 weeks. 10 new firms. I stopped tracking the new Bitcoin treasury firms that are being added every day. These are groups that have big bags of Bitcoin, but it grows and grows every single day with companies all over the world. Just look at the flags. We've got Japan. We've got tons of Canadian firms. Shout out to the Canadians up there. Tons of Chinese, Singaporean. What's that flag? Is that a Russian flag down there? Germany, yay! Advanced Bitcoin tech, well done. Again, Australian firms. Everybody's doing it. Swiss firms, British firms. El Salvadorian firms. It's all happening. This, I said in my 2025 predictions, this is going to go, it's going to double. And yes, I stick by that. Probably a lot more. But it's going to be crazy. Where are these firms going to get their Bitcoin? They got tons of fiat. Where are they going to get the Bitcoin? That's going to be interesting. And the other huge news as well is the FASB game changer that happened in 2024. The road is now clear as America can enter the fray. Countries have been cautious in the past, but now America's got its hands on a lot of Bitcoin. Now they can mark the price to market with fair value accounting. They could never do that before. And this is going to be happy. In fact, one of the future president's campaign manager puts it, to those celebrating $100,000 Bitcoin, you're going to celebrate a lot higher. It's going to be a game changer. This is why these firms can now play Bitcoin, because they can account for it fairly and not be penalized by accounting rules. Huge. That's the ETFs and this are the two biggest things for me for Bitcoin this year. And who else won the year? Well, in my opinion, this guy. And I know half the world can't stand him, but do not let your biases infect your investing. NVIDIA, we know, became the essential instrument of AI with unprecedented demand for their chips. But Elon bought up over 200,000, maybe 300,000, I lost track, and is ordering another 900,000 more, which means nobody else can get any. NVIDIA and Tesla have AI sewn up. This is so important. And this guy, again, love him or hate him, his influence has expanded across multiple domains, from space to social media to politics to self-driving cars, which have made huge breakthroughs. I got 2 of them. And Optimus is next. And the synergies between what he is doing across all his businesses with the NVIDIA chips is insane. I covered this a few weeks ago. I won't explain it again. But basically, together, they can build the world's best generative AI models, the best robotics development, the best training infrastructure. Training infrastructure is what trains FSD, self-driving cars. They don't really dabble in cloud and distributed computing, but humanoid robots are coming. And they have a shared vision. And one guy is buying up all the chips. Okay, so if you think for a second that ChatGPT have a chance, no, they don't. It's that simple. And just a reminder, this is also huge. This is how AI will exceed the intelligence of all humans by 2030, probably 2027 or 2028. We've got 2 years, 3 years left. Okay? By 2030, it's guaranteed to happen. All right? This is already there. It's here. You've heard me harping on it since November 2022. It's big. Prepare. I'll alert you again. Prepare your children, prepare your partners, prepare your friends, prepare. Okay. AZ, thank you for coming. Now I have we're still in the good news category. Can you believe all this good news? This is the year ESG died. Okay. ESG is that fake, pay all these penalties and invest in all these companies that will make the world greener. Well, none of that matters. None of that matters at all. And it died. In fact, Larry Fink got on TV and said he regrets it. Biggest money runner in the world regretted it. So bye-bye ESG. And it's also the year DEI also died. DEI is when people with merit don't get jobs or places in universities, but people with maybe other things got the position. And that's not fair. Meritocracy is what makes countries good and successful. Okay? Mary Magdalene, thank you for coming. So love it or hate it, that also died this year. And the other thing that also died is the people that lie. Mainstream media. There was huge concerns for years for many of us about cognitive decline in certain political leaderships. And that became a huge issue. And the legacy media lied to our faces time and time again. And since then, nobody watches them anymore. Legacy media faced huge challenges, losing over half of their audiences to independent media and podcasters. Okay? You've got people like Joe Rogan, and Alex Rogan's here too, maybe a cousin of Joe, taking over because they can see these people are not paid by big pharmas or big auto or big food or any of this garbage. They are objective and true. And one of my wishes for 2024 is for truth to come out. And now it has. Bye-bye, mainstream media and CNBS. Now, there is some bad news. So let's get into it. First of all, ETH Dominance off from all-time high of 31% down to 12.6%. This has been one of the biggest losers. But if you watch this channel, you won't be surprised because we look at data and the answer is always in the data in the SCP profiler. That's what we built very, very early 2021. This first editions where we can look at tons of parameters and identify them. So if you look at a chain like ETH that runs at max 45 TPS versus another one that can do an awful lot more and does a lot more transactions and has 13 times more users and does a lot more with less and charges 25,000% less per fee, the answer was always there. ETH was not going to make it. And I've said that firmly since 2023. And here we are. Now, getting back to bad news as well. Good news for other players, but bad news for some. ChatGPT, I believe, as I've been calling out as well, I felt there's no way Elon Musk was going after Microsoft and ChatGPT, what they call OpenAI, which is really closed for profit, woke AI. And everything Microsoft touches never wins. It never becomes the best. You can look at anything. You look at search. You look at their Microsoft Office. It's garbage compared to what other players can do, like Google, etc. But OpenAI has faced a ton of controversy, leadership drama. The answers it gives you to things are just terrible. You can tell that somebody has their finger on the scale behind the scenes with the weightings, and that's not good. But Grok 3 is coming in January. Okay, this is XAI's play. They were equipped with an extraordinary number of H100s. We're talking hundreds of thousands of H100s. And now the B200s. And they are poised to completely outperform OpenAI and all other models across all benchmarks. That's my forecast. And what this thing can do is unbelievable. It can now, like Grok 3 has in tests demonstrated, that it can reliably diagnose chest x-rays. You can say, my cat has this weird thing going on, or my dog has this, or my aunt has this. Your medical answers are here, better than any human doctor or a team of specialists can ever give you. This is just one example of the type of crazy disruptions coming. Okay? Power, absolute knowledge will be in the hands of everybody in a month. Hard to believe, but trust me, it's happening. Trust me, bro. No, don't trust me. And the biggest flop, which I actually mocked when it came out, I said nobody's going to pay $3,500 for this thing to get a headache and migraine. Biggest flop, Apple Vision Pro. I openly mocked it when it came out and made fun of Apple. And here we are. And it was actually, inspiration for this was the All-In Pod that actually called this one of the biggest flops of the year too. So we are aligned, except I called it a flop before everybody realized it was. Anyhow, you got to risk a little bit of stuff, but the innovation that Apple comes up with is changing colors on the phones or maybe adding a picture, but I don't know. Anyway, a little bit of ugly news. And then it's a wrap, and then it'll be, it's 2:00. So Europe is going into New Year's Eve. Token unlocks, as usual. Some of the big names here. We got Sui, 2.4% unlock. Now, I just want to shout out something. People have been freaking out for 6 months now about a March unlock of 2% for Solana. All right? Freaking out. Other names like Sui do it all the time. Okay? So don't take everything with a spoon of salt and compare benchmark data. Anyway, other names, Zeta, DYDX, ENA is always raining down tokens. Kaspa mentioning twice in a video ever. Optimism, Aptos, IO, etc. all raining down tokens. That is the first piece of ugly news, because every week there's going to be token unlocks. And some are bad, some are really bad, some aren't that bad at all. Also, the Fed makes a fool of itself. Yellen says, I'm strongly opposed to audit the Fed. So as part of truth, we're beginning to see more and more about the incompetency and lies that come from institutions and to mainstream media about leadership. not being in cognitive decline when they were complete vegetables. Okay? It's all coming out. And this is a famous historic piece of buy Bitcoin and everything that's happening with the Treasury and the Fed and all that type of stuff. And, you know, they work hand in glove, and there's a whole bunch of issues going on right now where Jerome Powell wants to stay in power. The new president doesn't want him there because he knows in order to bring prices down, they have to reduce inflation. And the high interest rates are killing not only the deficits, which cause more money printing, which cause more inflation, but also it's killing the ability for people to buy stuff, borrow money, killing small businesses, killing the real estate market. You can't sell real estate in California for love nor money because mortgage rates are about 7%. Nobody can afford a 7% mortgage rate on $1 million home. Very few people can. And Jerome Powell was very upset in his last meeting because he fails to control inflation. Shout out to Truflation. This, by the way, is very sandbagged, but very true. Inflation, you can see it went from 2.75% to as high as 3.12%, and now it's about 3.07%. Again, the magical 2% never happened. We always called it a unicorn, rainbow story, whatever. Never going to happen. He's upset. After destroying so much and incurring so much debt and paying so much interest and $35 trillion of debt, got nowhere. So here we go. Then they've given up and they reduced rates by 100 basis points, 1 full percent. And the long end of the curve is still higher than it was before they started cuts. Think about that. Madness. Anyway, we covered that yesterday in DCA. That's the story. Thank you to everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. All these videos are recapped, all the slides, podcasts and emails, documents, so you can see everything if you missed anything. And that was 52 nuggets. New Year's Eve special to the 9,000 people are here. Nobody's down in the pubs. Nobody's partying. Well, I'll be working tonight too. So be safe out there, everybody. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, all these lovely people. I'm very grateful to be able to do this. And, you know, next January will be volatile, but it could end strong. So be ready for that. Have a little bit of powder dry because I sense some buying opportunities. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, TNT Tesla. Thank you, Sean Donnelly. Paul McCartney here, the legend, singer-songwriter, and K8 and everybody here. I really appreciate the whole guys. Sir Winston, Renato Whisperer, Super Soul Man, Mary Magdalene, Richard Bratt. Love you all. Happy New Year. See you tomorrow. As always, bye-bye.